And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you came back for more. Folks, I don't blame you. And that was a brilliant decision. Now, why do we have more? Because this is the podcast. It is about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. And you crack the code. My guest today is, in fact, a podcaster. This is the place where we all come together to raise each other up. And this is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So let's get sailing, introduce our guest today. The lady with us today is an occupational therapist and is the host of Adulting with Autism. 150, just about 150 episodes strong. Folks, please welcome to the show, April Ratchford. April, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Better than I deserve. I appreciate you coming on, and I know we had you're looking for a place to do the podcast right now.
Listen, if you have kids getting ready to go off to college and you have no space, you're in my boat.
Yep, been there. I'm an empty nester myself, but it wasn't that long ago that I remember not having 5 feet of room anywhere in the house that I could stop and stop moving. So I totally understand. April, I'll tell you what, we've got a bunch of stuff we want to get into and unpack, and I know you've got one heck of a story to tell. Why don't you go ahead and just tell folks who is April Ratchford? What are you about? What brings you here?
So I am myself an autistic occupational therapist. Didn't realize I was autistic until I started this podcast. I have an autistic son, an undiagnosed autistic dad, older nephew autistic, niece autistic, younger nephew that is autistic. So um, my profession, people think I would do pediatrics. Absolutely not. I am focused in geriatrics. And I started the podcast because in 2020, when COVID hit, my kid came out of high school. It was a terrible time for all those kids coming out, but there was no transition program. So I, being an OT, thought, hey, there's got to be other OTs, right? Doing this thing. There's no OT doing this thing. So I knew he wasn't ready for school. So I myself kept him out for a year. And I wasn't sure how COVID was going to deal with everything in college.
Sure.
And kept him out, made sure he could do his own schedule, do his own ADLs. He decided, I want to do college. And I was like, are you sure about this? Because this is independent living. I don't want you calling me every 10 minutes. I can't do this. He's like, I can do this. So we decided we would go to a school in Kentucky, EKU. I knew it had an OT program as well. Only school that had video game design, and sent him. And it was a dumpster fire.
Ooh,
He was traumatized. I was traumatized. I was like, this is awful. And so I was like, we spent $10,000 for him to just feel awful about himself. And I was like, if this happened to me, how many other parents went through this and how much debt? And there's no OTs out there helping anybody else out. I got frustrated, so I started a podcast. So no
hmm,
other parent would have to go into debt or figure out there's got to be better options. There's got to be better ways for kids with autism to get supports in place. Because here in Kentucky, it's very limited because of all the rural areas that we have.
hmm.
I'm on my cat. He likes to be on film. Um, so I him and hawed about it, and then my fiance said, "I have a mic," and threw it at me. He said, "That's all you need," and the podcast was born.
Nice. Okay. Let me back up just for a minute. The now in high school there was some structure, right, for your son and that type of thing.
Yeah, there's structure now. Every school is different,
Hmm.
so there are more schools that are more geared toward that structure
Hmm.
than others. Like in Louisville, there are schools that are for specifically for autistic kids, but you have to pay out of pocket.
Oh
And
wow.
a lot of parents can't. it's like going to private school and there's
Yeah.
scholarships. And I'm like, I can't afford that. I'm still paying on my education. So you parents do the best they can with public schools. And of course, there's not enough funds, there's not enough training. And they're like, here, teachers, you got all these ADHD, neurodivergent, on everything else you got in between. Deal with these students along with neurotypical students. And I'm like, this is not going to work with 30 kids in a classroom and 10 of them are neurodivergent. It's not going to work. And you meet one autistic kid, you meet one autistic kid. They're not all the same, especially
Right.
in their sensory needs. So it's somewhat of a structure, but then they don't all learn the same and they don't all like the same things. Like when my son was coming up, the big show was the Big Bang Theory. So every teacher thought, oh, he'll be great in math and science. My kid hates math and science, though he wants to be a video game designer, loves playing video games. But they thought, what's wrong with him? I'm like, did you think he don't like it? Or maybe you have to teach differently.
Mm.
And my sister with my 10-year-old nephew is going still going through the same thing to the point where she's going to pull him out of the Kentucky system and find a system in Ohio and make Kentucky pay for it because she's like, I'm tired of this. And she's an OT as well.
Mm.
And she had to fight since my oldest nephew was born in 97. So she's been dealing with this since 97.
My goodness.
So nothing much has changed.
Right.
And here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. The no, I know that you consider yourself to be an advocate for change and for more services, more help. This may be a tough question to answer, but um, if you can, what sorts of things would you like to see in place for people like your son and like your nephew?
Parents need more supports because not only do the kids mask, the parents are masking as well, thinking they have to protect their kid and make their kid be like neurotypical kids. And I'm like, no, your kid is autistic. Let them do the weird thing that they do. I do weird things at work all day long. It doesn't stop me from doing my job. And I'm one of the best OTs out there. Like, I no longer have to work at one job 40 hours a week. I can now work when I want and they call me first. So
Nice.
you, you just have to get in there and you have to, one, support the parents and don't treat it like it's a funeral.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know why that is a thing. Number two, and therapists have to play into the kids' strengths. Don't play into their weaknesses. That'll catch up later. I have lots of weaknesses. I will never be on time, not ever. I will never be completely organized. I can't tell you how many podcasts I have missed this week because time management is not my skill set. It just isn't. Play into their strengths. I'm quirky. I have a personality. I try to make people feel at home. Those are my strengths, and that's what I do. So that's what you need to do with the kids as they grow older.
Sure. Sure. Well, I want to applaud you then because you're on time for mine.
Listen, I left work real early. I'm
I
like, I gotta
appreciate
go,
it.
guys.
I appreciate it. I had two other people show up late today, and you were not one of them. So you know what? That's awesome.
I worked real hard.
Well, so you're dealing with this, and you're not getting the help that you need, obviously, from the state or from the system. Your fiance says, "Here's a mic, start a podcast." The purpose of starting the podcast was what?
at, at first, I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do? Like, because it's so vast. And it started with, okay, let's help parents. What are the next steps to transition out of high school? Then, as my kid was growing older, I was like, okay, well, does he need to live independently? And then as he's coming into 23, and I'm like, well, what other life skills are they going to need? And it turns into mental health, relationships, mentorships, coaching, um, anything, money, finances. Parents need to think about what happens to them when they pass away, because let me tell you, my kid is not going to be the one to make financial decisions or my burial. I have got that set because he's not going to be he's just not going to be that kid. He's going to be too emotional for it, and he's going to be overwhelmed. So it's going to be already done and planned.
Nice.
And those are things parents don't think about because they think they have time. But look at how fast they grow and are already out of your house.
Right. Hmm. Okay, so these are all topics that you're addressing in the podcast and trying to help parents plan ahead, figure these things out.
Right. And parents don't realize once they hit 18 and they're adults, you can't treat them like kids
Hmm.
and they're in your house. So that's a whole new dynamic. These are adults living in your house. And this is not the parent, I'm the authority. This is you two. These are all co-adults trying to live in one house until somebody has to get out.
Right.
If they can be on their own. And it's tough on everybody. And burnout is real. Burnout's real on the parents' behalf and on the kids' behalf because he thought he would be out of the house with his peers. It's
Hmm.
a thing. Nobody discusses that part. I was like, he's still in my house.
Okay. You said something earlier that I actually have never heard before, and you said that you were recently diagnosed as autistic?
Actually, I didn't figure out I'm on the autism spectrum. Like, I looked at my baby book and I didn't start speaking until I was like 2.5. And I had speech when I was in school. I didn't know why I had speech, but yeah, I had speech.
Hmm.
And the only reason I probably did as well as I did was I have a cousin who's 7 months younger than I was. We're the same age, born the same day, and they had us together all the time. So I just mimicked her behaviors, and that's what kids do, mimic behaviors. So I would just mimic what she did. And so that's probably why no one caught on. They just thought I was, oh, she's just a little quiet. She's shy. She doesn't talk. She just likes to be, you know, they didn't realize, that's kind of weird that she doesn't like to be social around people except for family. That's
Hmm.
awkward. They just said, oh, April's just shy. And here I am. I was like, no, no, I'm on the spectrum. I would just do weird
Hmm.
facts. My sister had the nickname for me of Rain Man because I would just know these weird random facts. And she would be like, here, fix my fantasy football team because you know these weird random facts. I was like, okay.
Hmm.
She does pretty well.
I hope you get a percentage of her cut, if she
I
wins.
mean, she took me out for chicken wings. I can't complain.
There you go. Will work for food. I like that. Exactly. Okay, for sure. The now, pardon my ignorance, but how do you, I mean, do you just compare like certain behaviors to a chart and say, hey, this matches up, or is there like a
You
test
can, like,
somehow
some
or
people can do a formal test, but there's certain behaviors, like the language part. If kids should be speaking full sentences to you by two, they should have a wide language base. If not, there's a problem.
hmm,
I wasn't speaking till 2.5. My kid was still grunting to me at 2 with my niece translating for me because she's only 7 months younger than he is. She wasn't speaking much more than he was. We just didn't know any better because my older nephew wasn't speaking much more than he was. She just happened to be a girl. And girls, there's not much research because all the research prior were on boys. Girls are completely different. And socially, like psychology wise, girls are already taught to mask when we're little anyway. We're already taught you need to fit in to have friends, you need to fit in to be socially appropriate. So we're already masking for long before
Hmm.
anything is noticeably weird.
I
Boys
see.
just don't care. They're just all over the place.
So the boys are easier to spot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're the ones lining up the toys. Just my son just was I was like he would not really want to play with other kids. He would play with my his cousins and he was fine with that. But then he would run up to me and be like, "Hey mom, I have memorized all the volcanoes that last erupted." And I was like, he was 5. I was like, "What 5-year-old does this?" I'm like, would not initiate normal play. We didn't play. We like doing things that were more adult like versus play for a 5-year-old. Didn't like getting his hands dirty. We ate rice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a good portion of growing up. And then we progressed to SpaghettiOs. I had to teach him to chew it and not swallow
Hmm.
because he would just swallow it. And then he went through the phase of most parents are used to. I'm sure they're like, oh yeah, the crunchy where they would only eat certain nuggets.
Hmm.
Like he liked the McDonald nuggets versus the Wendy nuggets. I don't know the difference. They're nuggets. My
McDonald's are better. Yeah.
listen, my nephew is he's 10. He's like he prefers the nasty McDonald's versus the Chick-fil-A nuggets. And we're like, that's gross. But my sister likes to call it McMaggots. So she's like, but you just know they're just hints of things like not being socially aware. Like my dad, we should have known, but we were kids. He would say things that you should not say out loud, like, I can't believe she wore that dress. And we were like, did he say that out loud in a restaurant? Just things that you just would not socially do. No social cues. My dad didn't get so we were like, oh yeah, he's on the spectrum. That's
Hmm. So it's behavior then. It's behavior
yeah,
that
you
you
can
kind of
spot the
match up. I
behavior.
see.
You can, and a good portion, you know those behaviors. I'm sure parents out there are like, oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now they start showing up. Is there a certain age that these things start showing up? I mean, it's in childhood, of course, but I mean, is it like right away or does it take a little
And
development before it happens?
some parents just know it's you just deep down know you can see your kid, a neurotypical kid, and your kid, and you just know
Hmm.
they just prefer to be in their own world. They could care less about being around kids. They could care less about interacting. They just like what they like, and they go down rabbit holes of their favorite things, like Thomas the Train. Like Thomas the Train is one of those things that a lot of autistic kids loved. I don't know what it was. Teletubbies is another one.
Hmm. Interesting.
Don't Barney. Barney's another one. I don't know what it is about these things, but they love them. Like my son could spot a Thomas the Train across from a Toys R Us. I don't know what it was. They just love these weird kind or Baby Shark is another one.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm sure parents are out there like, oh, yeah, Baby Shark. I can't stand Baby Shark. Yes. Something that is repetitive and just, you're like, is this even teaching you anything? I, and the faces don't move, you notice. There's no expression on the faces because Thomas the Train doesn't really have an expression. Neither does Teletubbies. Or Baby Shark is just that repetitive same song. And there's the pattern.
Hmm,
So
interesting. Okay, so that's, I mean, these are ways that this gets spotted. These kids that get identified, and then do they get put in programs when they're in school? Is that kind of how that works?
not always because it's tough because teachers have to deal with a lot of behaviors are crossovers because some behaviors can be ADHD, some are autism, and some are crisscross because some are both. And so it takes a whole bunch of occupational therapists, speech therapists, along with psychiatrists and psychologists to run these tests. And they can be 3-day tests on these kids to see if they have one or the other. It can't be your pediatrician slapping some label on your kid and
Okay.
putting them on the medication because I learned recently from another podcaster that ADHD is technically not a medical diagnosis. It's a psych diagnosis. So why is your pediatrician trying to slap a psych diagnosis on your kid?
Mm,
It should be a psychiatrist,
right.
not a pediatrician. So you might want
Interesting.
to think about that.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. I mean, goodness. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot for someone to have to deal with. How has your occupation, being an occupational therapist, how has that helped you in having to deal with these things?
It's taught me a lot of patience and how to be more tolerant and see his sensory seeking behaviors and just learn to be direct with them because growing up, I just learned to be direct because he's not going to learn social cues. I would have to teach him social cues. So this fluff and tough where parents are like, um, what do they call them these days? These quiet parenting. Yeah, that's not going to work for kids with autism. This quiet parenting doesn't work because you're going to get that kid you see on TikTok that's 18 and punches the teacher in the face. That's what you're
Oh,
going to get with quiet parenting. These kids need direct and they need those behaviors quelled when they're young. Because if not, they're going to be that 18-year-old punching you in the face because those behaviors are not cool. So I corrected him and I made sure everybody else around him corrected him. I would not let anyone let those behaviors slip. I'm like, no, we're not going to have that.
sure,
Like, if the behavior is inappropriate, if I don't tolerate it, that means you don't tolerate it. We nip it in the bud.
sure.
And so far, he's never gotten in trouble. He's never gotten arrested. He's never hit anyone in school. But then again, I am that parent too that says, if I get that phone call from, from school that you hit somebody, you're gonna wish you were dead.
Okay. So the message was delivered, in other words, very,
Yes,
very directly, very straight up. All right, I got you. Very direct.
I'm a
Um,
Gen Xer, so
It's, me too. I hear you. So, all right, so you start the podcast because this is your way of kind of advocating for change and wanting to help other parents. Much of the podcast, then it sounds like, is based on your own experience.
yeah, based on me and my sister's experiences, how we've had to fight the system, even though we are occupational therapists, we try to go in as parents, as moms, and unfortunately, if we don't go in with our credentials, people try to brush us to the side. So
Hmm.
it's hard. It's really tough because we're telling people, no, this is what our kid needs, and they want to push back. And I get it's not a perfect system. It's a push and pull, and it's going to have to take collaboration both on parents and teachers because you can't have all the therapies, and teachers have to have some kind of give, and you have to hold your therapist accountable. And I really really hate when therapists get on telehealth and expect a parent to do the work for them when you're the therapist and you're supposed to guide the parent and tell the parent why so the parent can reproduce what it is they need to do at home.
Hmm. Sounds like that hasn't
Those
been the
people,
best experience. Yeah.
listen, my sister, she's the funniest therapist I know. She got mad at her son's OT and she was like, I'm not about to do your work and my work too. So don't send me another sheet home. So she's that
Fair.
therapist.
Fair. All right. Have you had any, I mean, in the course of doing the podcast, you've, criticized some things, some, some establishments. Have you had any blowback for that?
Not yet.
So far,
But
so good. All right.
but what are they gonna say? I'm like, what do you like? Even if my board of AOTA said, what are you gonna say? Because they know I'm right.
Hmm.
I'm like, how long did it take them to extend teaching their OTs to go past adulthood to geriatrics and make it a separate field and teach us geriatrics? I'm like, so what's she gonna say? Because I'm right. Show me something different. It's global. I just talked to a neurodivergent occupational therapist in Australia with the same problem and opened her own practice.
Hmm.
Same
Okay.
exact issue, another country. What are you going to tell me? Show me proof that you're doing something different. I just talked to students in my alma mater, Spalding, that wanted to do pediatrics. And they were brand new students going in their first year, and everybody wants to do pediatrics. I don't know why. Everybody wants to do pediatrics. Kids are cute. I get it. But I looked at them and I said, yeah, kids are real cute, but what are you going to do when the parents ask you? What are you going to do for them when they graduate? Because it's coming around that more and more parents are neurodivergent and autistic with a chip on their shoulder because of the things they've gone through and the trauma they've gone through. And they, for damn sure, aren't going to let their kids go through with it. So you better have an answer. And that's what I told them. I'm like, you better have an answer. And they just looking at me. I'm like, okay, you got 2.5 years to come up with that answer. And my podcast is coming up on 2. So I'm just saying.
All right. That math is method. No, I understand. Well, no, I mean, I'm glad that I'm glad that you believe in it, the way you do, and that you're willing to stand up and say the things that need to be said, and that you use your podcast for that. Now, in terms of getting the word out about this, obviously the podcast is a great vehicle. How do you go about promoting the podcast to get more people, more ears listening?
It's funny. I really don't. I have t-shirts. I wear t-shirts.
I really don't. I love that answer.
It's just word of
I
mouth
know.
because the funny thing is I'm the only occupational therapist still with adulting with autism. Everybody else is still running around in pediatrics. I'm like, okay, here I am bringing on X. When you have Dr. Robert Melillo, who created the brain balance centers across the nation, coming on to your podcast, he's asking to be on your podcast. I ain't doing it. I'm just saying,
Word of mouth is working.
yeah, because there's nothing out there and there's still nothing out there. I thought I would have some competition by now. No.
Yeah, not much out there. No.
And and it's all personal stories that are out there. Like people telling their personal stories saying, "Hey, there's nothing out there for us."
Mhm.
And I'm like, I you've got to be kidding me. This is why I went into this field is to lift others up and give them a way to be autonomous. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep on doing what I do. And
Nice.
so far, so good.
So far, so good. That's a great way to look at, anything in life, I think, at this point. So that's perfect. The Have you had a chance to look at monetizing the podcast at all?
I have, I'm, I'm going to say I probably should have paid more attention to my business part of the class in school, but I didn't
All right.
think I would be running a business. But I do have some affiliates coming in. If there's anybody on Buzzsprout that would like to partner up, yay. I do have a merch shop that is very neurodivergent forward
Okay.
and for their allies. So that's pretty cool. And I was like, you now that I think about it, there are no t-shirts out there for adults with autism. Like it's all kid based. And I'm
Sure.
like, what 21-year-old wants some ponies and rainbows? And I'm like, college people want stuff that's college based. Like I have things that say autistic, authentic, unapologetic, things that
Sure.
are adult based, that are give a statement that you're not ashamed to be who you are.
Right.
And
Nice. Okay. What else? I mean, if there's more, please. I didn't mean to cut you off. What else?
well, I got stickers and coffee mugs because we love coffee,
Well, yeah.
but mostly stickers, sweatshirts, t-shirts. I'll come up with other things. But I'm still working full time. So if you guys would like to buy some things so I can just not work full time and do this all the
There you go.
time.
Nice. I like it. Okay. So, all right, that's great. I mean, it sounds like you're doing excellent with the podcast, so far, and like you're really on a great path with it. So, congratulations for that. When I saw your list of guests, that you had put up there. Very impressive. I know a lot of those people, and you're doing a great job with it. So, I mean, I can see where you're going. Um, are you enjoying it still?
I do because I learned so much. I
Awesome.
learned a lot. And to connect it with different people, especially when people come on and they figure out themselves. They're like, I came onto your podcast and I figured out I was autistic. I was like, welcome to the club.
Nice. Okay. Excellent. As long as you still are enjoying it like that, then hey, you're going to keep on doing it. That means you get to keep growing. So I love
Yeah,
hearing that. That's great. That's great. All right. It's time for my corny question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So in terms of doing your podcast, what is it about doing your podcast that you love the most? And what is it about doing your podcast that you just absolutely hate the most?
What I love the most is actually talking to people and being able to get new knowledge out to people that may help people. That's the most awesome thing. ever seen. It's awesome. Things I hate. I absolutely hate editing. I hate it so much. I hate posting. I don't know how you Gen Zers do this on TikTok. Like, I'm on the computer all day at work, and I'm like, what do you mean I have to put up a post? I don't want to do it.
I love that. At least you're being honest about it. So yeah, no, I do hear that once in a while on the editing. And so
Like, I
I don't
love
blame you.
audio editing. That is, I could do audio editing all day. That video stuff, and I admire you guys that are super brilliant at it and do all these cool things. I could throw my Mac across the room. I'm like, I need to hire somebody because this here.
You can do that. You know, you can hire someone to do your editing and stuff for
I'm not
you.
at that level.
Right?
Bill Robbins, if you're listening, can I borrow your peoples?
This That's awesome. All right. I love the way you're answering the questions too. I mean, you're just so honest and you got this great energy and everything else. It's really wonderful. Um, all right. So listen, I appreciate you coming on here and telling your story, talking about your podcast. As we kind of wrap things up, you're doing a great job with your podcast. So the last question I usually like to ask folks is, what's your best piece of advice for podcasters who are not quite where you are yet?
Keep believing in what you do. If you're doing this because you're ready to make a change in the world, if you're affecting just one person, it's worth it. The rest will come.
Nice. Great advice. Great advice. All right. Thank you so much for coming on here today, April, and sharing everything you have. Occupational therapist, host of Adulting with Autism. Folks, check out the podcast. It's great. April Ratchford. April, thank you for everything you shared with everybody today. Good luck with the continued fight that you're in, and all my best with your podcast, too. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me in my antics.
Your antics. You were great. Folks, this has been another episode of The Podcaster Nation, the podcast that is about podcasters. It's for podcasters and it's done by podcasters. This is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So keep sailing.